Hey everyone, it's Jason, and this is your midweek cruise news update. And we have cruise passengers stuck in Alaska. Royal Caribbean announced a brand new ship class. And how would you feel if cruise lines boycotted Barcelona and other Mediterranean cities that cruise passengers aren't welcome? So, cruise story number one, and we have some exciting news from the CEO of Royal Caribbean. He was on the Utopia of the Seas talking to travel advisors there, and he confirmed that Royal Caribbean would be building a smaller ship class, and he confirmed the name was the Discovery class. We've been hearing these rumors for a couple years, maybe longer. Are you excited about a smaller ship class from Royal Caribbean? Now, he also hinted that the ship would be broader and not as high, basically giving a hint there that it could fit under some of the bridges, such as in Tampa, Florida, possibly in Baltimore when they rebuild that bridge there. Those are obviously key ports for Royal Caribbean. Now, I thought it was interesting is we heard this back in April on the Wonder of the Seas. The captain said it. He said the name of the class, but we never heard confirmation from any executives. Well, we have it now. What do you guys think about this? Do you think this will replace the Radiance class? Obviously, the Radiance class is getting almost 25 years old on some of the ships. So that is what I see it as, is replacing this class. And how big do you think these ships will be? Would love to hear from you in the comments. So cruise story number two, and this is a wild one, and it has me fired up, as a family of 9 was left in Ketchikan, Alaska, and they booked a ship-sponsored tour. So what happened is they booked the Greater Lumberjack Show, and when they were done with the show, were going back to get on their bus, and the tour operator said, "We don't have enough space for you on the bus. We'll come back and get you." Well, they never did. And so the family was getting worried. They called the Port Authority. They were able to get another ride back to their ship, only to see it leaving as they arrived. And this was the NCL Encore. Now, when you miss a ship, they're supposed to go into your cabin, get any kind of medications, get your passports, and a lot of times they'll pack for you. And they'll just bring all your belongings and leave it with the Port Authority. Well, here's the issue is Norwegian only gave back 8 of the 9 passports. So the next stop was in Victoria. And they were going to try to catch the ship back in Victoria, but they couldn't. So they had to fly back from Ketchikan to Seattle. Now, this is where it caused issues, because this breaks the Passenger Vessel Act. And NCL charged them $971 per person. The family said it felt like a customer service issue instead of an emergency. Their 78-year-old grandmother was without their medications. How irresponsible of Norwegian. It's just unacceptable that they did this. Now, this is obviously blown up. They've apologized. They said they will refund those almost $9,000 from the Passenger Vessel Act. They will give them some money back for the 2 days that they missed on the cruise. And they're so generously offering them a 20% future cruise credit. Come on, NCL. That's just cheap. The family spent $30,000 for this cruise. You need to be offering each and every single one of them a 100% future cruise credit. It's unacceptable that NCL did this. You left them. It was your fault. You put them really in a bad situation, and then you wanted to charge them for it. And if it didn't blow up over social media and all the papers, would you be offering that? I'm sorry, this is a really upsetting thing to me. How do you guys feel about this? Would love to know in the comments your thoughts. So before I get to cruise story number 3, I would ask that you please like this video, as it does help the channel grow. Also, consider subscribing, as we're less than 2,000 subscribers away from that 100,000 goal by the time we go to Alaska at the end of August. If you could do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much. So cruise story number 3, how would you feel if the cruise lines decided to boycott some of the cities in the Mediterranean? such as Barcelona and other cities, because of the way they're treating tourists and cruise ship passengers. Now, this was brought out by the European director of the Cruise Lines International Association. Personally, I think this is posturing or just a shot across the bow to these cities, because Barcelona had 3.6 million cruise ship passengers last year. And some reports say it's up to €1 billion that were spent. Now, tourism dollars is a little different because, like dollars or euros, the way it's spent is usually 6 to 8 times that. So it's not just 1 billion euros. It gets spent many different ways. Now, how would you feel if they decided to say, we're not going to these stops the way you treat tourists? And I think some of the locals would go, they'd be happy about it at first, but it would be one of those kind of sayings is, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. Now, personally for me, I'm looking at European cruises and I could care less about going there. You know what? I'm sure it's a beautiful city. I'm sure it'd be very nice to visit. But if you don't want me to see your city and you don't want me there, have at it. I live, and I've mentioned this before, in a huge tourism city. I love tourists. Yes, sometimes it can get a little crazy, especially when it's during like the end of the year, holidays, and things like that. We have a ton of tourists in town, but I appreciate them. It keeps the city going. It drives many different things into the city, the money that they spend. And I appreciate them in Orlando. Now, what do you think about the way the locals are treating tourists? They're shooting them with water guns. They're treating them bad. They're, throwing stuff at them in many of these cities. They stopped a cruise ship in France from docking. They blocked them. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for the continued support. It means so much to me. And until I talk to you next week, happy cruising.